Hi, everybody. This is Cheryl Richardson, and it's Labor Day here in the States, and it's a beautiful day today. Hi, Poopy. Hi, come here. Anyway, I'm here for this week's live coaching session, and I'm looking forward to taking your questions and hearing how you are. As I said, it's Labor Day. It's a beautiful summer day. It feels like a summer day, and it's the end of the official end of our summer here in the States. I know last week, I think the UK, those of you in the UK had your Labor Day on Monday. So it's kind of, in some ways, it's sort of sad. It feels like an ending. And given the fact that we lost Louise today, it sort of feels a bit, feels even sadder. And yet, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's posted comments and sent emails, and there's a lot of us who really loved Louise, and I appreciate so much people reaching out. It's she lived a beautiful full life, and I'm really glad that she's was able to move on in peace. And I know that my sense was she was ready to go. She lived a very, very exciting, adventurous, powerful life that helped so many. And I have no doubt that she's right here still with all of us in a different form. As a matter of fact, this morning I was reading the last chapter of the book that we did together, and I was so glad that I read it. She and I talked about dying, and she talked about some of the affirmations she used to prepare for the end of her life, and she talked about life being like a movie and how we always leave in the middle of the movie. And as I was reading the chapter, I thought, gosh, I'm so glad. I completely forgot what we spoke about. And I wanted to just share with you. I actually wanted to start by sharing with you just a few of the affirmations that Louise gave to me, that we talked about before, when we were writing the book, certainly long before she passed. She said that she had used these affirmations over the years related to death for a long, long time. She said she had used them for a number of years. At the end of this lifetime, I look forward to being reconnected with my loved ones on the other side. I make my journey to the other side of this life with joy and ease and peace in my heart. I'm so excited to see loved ones at the end of this journey. I see only love and peace on the other side of this stage of my life. Isn't that great? Really great. She went on to say, it's easier to go if we feel comforted. If you go feeling that it's going to be a good thing, better that you go feeling that it's going to be a good thing than being terrified. And we don't know what's on the other side, Louise said. We have people who have very strong beliefs who will tell us what is true, but no one really knows. We want to encourage people to think about and prepare for the end of their lives in a comforting way. It doesn't matter what age we are. This is important to do. And that's really true. I could outlive the people I've chosen to care for me, and then I'm sure that life would give me another option. I've been rescued from lots of things. I might have gone through shit, she says, but I was always saved. Why do you think that is? I asked her. And she said, well, I suppose there's a possibility that it's because I had important work ahead of me. So I always came out of a scrape. I've always been the kind of person who takes risks. After all, when you reach out to life, life always seems to reach back. And she really believed that life loves you, that life is here to support you, that when you reach out to life, life does reach back to you. And it was wonderful to just read her words, because, I was there and I knew it was real. And I remember her just being so confident and clear about what she was saying. So I'm on board with her about all of that. So anyway, I'm here, and as I said, thank you for your texts and your comments and all of that. And I would imagine if Louise were here, she would say, we will grieve and we will move on and continue to get about the business of doing good things in our lives and taking good care of ourselves. So to that end, let me help you take good care of yourself and move forward in your life in fun and exciting and helpful ways. So if you'd like to ask a question, if you'd like some support, I'm going to just say hi to John Richardson. That's weird because that was my dad's name. And John says, was there and he threw me off real quick. My wife's name is Cheryl Richardson. I thought she was live chatting. Very funny. We'll be listening. Enjoy your day. Well, hi, John. No, I'm not your wife. And no, you're not my father who passed away in November. But that was freaky to suddenly see your name come up. So we have something in common, don't we? And, you know, in the greater scheme of things, we're all connected anyway. So you and I are family. So if you have a question, you can just post a Q, a capital Q, and then your question. And that will give me a chance to find the questions very easily through here and just see who I can support. And in the, as you're doing that, as you're listing your questions here, let me just say hello to a few people. Amal and Jackie and Judy and Catherine and Cindy. Hi, Mike and Valerie and Sue from Utah. And Kathleen, and hey, Robin. Hi, Robin, and I imagine Larry as well. Hello, and James, nice to see you. I'm glad you have free time today. I know I decided that I would do this on a U.S. holiday just because it's a nice, quiet, easy day for me, and I figured some of you might be able to participate because you might be home from work. And Anne-Marie and Andrea, Sue, thank you so much. And Yuki, hi. Yuki says, hi, Cheryl. I just wanted to say before Louise passed, I was reading You Can Create an Exceptional Life. What amazed me after she left the planet, I found out the last chapter is the end of the movie. Yeah, I know. You know what else was interesting when I was reading that last chapter? She talked about her mother who passed away at 91. Her mother was sick, and she made a point of not letting them do they wanted to do some kind of surgery on her mother, and she wouldn't let them do that because she said she's lived a full life, let her go in peace. So yes, I saw Yuki. What amazed me after reading she left the planet. Hey, Karen and Joseph, welcome. Yeah, I know, I'm sad about the news too. So many people loved her and will continue to love her, which is just what's important, right? Lally and Francis, welcome, and Jessica and Tiffany. All right, let's see. Let's see if we can find some questions here. Yeah, I will. Alexandra, I will post the name of the book. Diane says, I have something really sweet to tell you. I got a new kitten who's really cute, and her name is Belle. Oh, what a great name. And Diane, good for you. Congratulations. May little Belle bring you lots of joy in your life. Okay, so let's see. Judy says, I'm a worrier. So first of all, Judy, let me say right off the bat, in the spirit of Louise Hay, if I said to Louise, I'm a worrier, she would say, now that's not a helpful affirmation. So the first thing we always want to do is look at what we call ourselves. I'm a procrastinator. I'm an overeater. I'm a worrier. I'm lazy. Like, you know, we want to just become aware of the labels we give ourselves on a regular basis. The interesting thing is when you just become aware of the labels that you give yourself, you automatically pull yourself out of the neural program that's running, this kind of groove that you're stuck in that keeps you worrying or keeps you procrastinating or keeps you eating when you're not hungry. So you want to start by just observing. Don't judge yourself and don't even try to change it. Just observe. Every time you catch yourself saying, I'm a worrier, just notice it. Oh, there I go again. There I go again. Oh, look at that. I'm doing it again. That's interesting. Become very curious about your consistent thoughts. So she says, I'm a worrier, but it's getting in the way of me being happy. Well, of course it is. How can I keep this under control so I can be at peace and happy? Well, Judy, the first thing to know about, so the first thing was watch your affirmations, right? The next thing is to recognize that anything we try to keep under control will always control us. Anything we try to keep under control will always control us. Makes me think of Debbie Ford when Debbie was alive. Debbie talked about trying to keep a beach ball underwater. Did you ever do that when you were a kid? You have a big beach ball and you put it underwater and you're on top of it, and the amount of energy that beach ball has coming back at you, that, you know, it's trying to push its way out of the water, the amount of energy that takes, it just gives the beach ball, the harder you push that beach ball down underwater, the more energy it has, the more pressure, the more power it has to pop up afterwards. So the first thing you want to do, Judy, is just love yourself even though you're a warrior. I think of the tapping work. So this is the karate chop spot, and you could do, even though I worry a lot, I love and accept myself anyway. Even though I'm a warrior, or even though I call myself a warrior, I choose to feel peaceful and calm. Even though I constantly worry and it interrupts my peace, I choose to feel peaceful and calm. And here's a really good one, Judy. Make sure you re-listen to this and write this down. For everybody who deals with anxiety, worry, all of that. This came from Carol Look, who was is a great teacher of tapping. And I did some work with Carol Look back when I was writing Stand Up for Your Life. She was incredibly helpful. And she said, when we were doing tapping together, she used this one line that made a huge difference, and I've used it ever since. Even though I manufacture anxiety, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And so saying these things over and over, Judy, will kind of break the energetic hold that this worrying has on you. Now, the next thing you want to do is look at, what are you worrying about? Is there something that you're worrying about consistently that needs your attention? Because sometimes that's what happens. You know, fear is a messenger. Worry can be a messenger. There may be something, you know, if you're worried about money all the time, maybe there's a message in that, like you need to get a job or a better job or an additional job, or you need to lower your expenses. Or if you're worried about your health, maybe you need to you know, start moving or eat better or go to the doctors. Like, what message is your worrying giving you? And how can you address that so that you're not as afraid? Then I also want to say, on a kind of bigger existential level, the older we get, if we continue to grow older without a connection to our inner life, and without a connection to a power greater than us, whether it's God, Jesus, the Creator, a divine intelligence, a higher power, however you define that is your business, when we're not connected to some kind of a power greater than us, for me, I find such comfort in nature. You know, at night when I look up at the moon, last night I was looking at the moon, this incredible bright, almost full moon. And there's a way in which looking at that moon makes me feel a part of something much greater than this small humanness that I experience, where I tend to worry and feel anxious. And I see God, the divine, the great mother, the great father, in the beauty of nature. And I cultivate this connection to something greater than myself, because otherwise you're left being God in your own life, trying to manage everything. And that never turns out good, Judy. Never turns out good. So we need to really, you know, see your worrying mind as a messenger, become aware of how often you call yourself a warrior. Sometimes just giving ourselves the labels makes it true. We keep proving ourselves right. And begin to really cultivate, you know, whether you go to church, go out into nature, whether you pray, whether you read inspirational literature or spiritual literature. I know when I went through a period in my life when I was worrying a lot and feeling anxious a lot, I studied books like the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Science of Mind from the Church of Religious Science, Science of Mind. I studied a lot of spiritual texts that helped to, just in the reading of it, connect me to something greater than myself, a power greater than myself. I've read a lot of books on Jesus, a lot of, you know, and a lot of books on the desert mothers and fathers, and spiritual books that kept me connected to something greater. Those are some of the things that I would recommend, Judy, and I hope that's helpful. Let's see. Karen, oh, sweetheart. Karen says, I'm having a terrible time struggling with having to put my lovely 16-and-a-half-year-old black lab down tomorrow, just needing some support. Oh, let's all just send Karen love. Can we please, everybody? Karen, I'm going to put you in my prayer book, which I have right here. And, oh, what do you say about that, sweetheart? everything we love. Yeah, look at all the hearts coming through. Thank you, everybody. What we love and lose is so hard. 16 and a half years. I'm so glad that you've had this sweet dog for that long. And there is on my website, there's a podcast that I did with Mark Hanks, who's a vet, who talks about, in a really beautiful way, talks about making that decision to put our loving animals to rest at peace. And one of the things he said to me, Karen, one time that I thought was so helpful is, he said, these are my words, not his, but this is how I interpreted it, that we need to really pay attention to our anxiety level and our pet's anxiety level when they come towards the end of their lives. And sometimes the most loving thing we do is to put both of us at rest. It's going to be hard. There's just no easy way. If you can find someone who can come to your home to do it, that would be great. Or there's lots of vets that now have beautiful rooms where they, in a very conscious and loving way, put animals to rest and allow the pet parent to be there. So I'm hoping that you can find some kind of environment, whether it's at home or somewhere else, that feels safe and allows you the space that you need. You will get through this, Karen, and your sweet black lab will be with you in spirit, and you will get signs. I promise you that. I have enough experience to know that just from all of the people I've worked with and the people here. I'm sure there's people here who have had the experience of connecting with their loved ones, their beloved pets after they've passed. So just know you're not alone, that you will get through this, that the first week is the hardest, and just, hold him or her close and thank them for the incredible partnership that you've experienced together, and know that I'm holding you right here in my heart, sweetheart. It's just not an easy thing, and I wish there was something I could say to make it easier. Just love yourself through the process, and only be with people who can love you through the process too. All right, and let's all just pray for Karen, sending her love and comfort, Julie wants to know, how do I get over breaking up with my best friend? It's hard. That's another one that's hard, Julie. You don't get over it. I think you grieve it, and you grieve it for as long as you can. You give yourself a chance to grieve it for as long as you need to. And you know that things are going to happen, like all kinds of things are going to remind you of this person. You're going to, I know when my dad passed, anytime he came to mind, I was always filled with just wonderful, warm memories of my dad. I never remembered any of the tough times, and I never do, it seems. So chances are, when you're going through grief and loss, we tend to remember all of the good times. And I have found, Julie, and everyone listening, that in order to grow and evolve in our lives, it often means leaving relationships behind. Not all of them, but some of them. And we grow in different ways, in different directions. We need people to... We need to stay in relationships with people who are committed to their own growth as well. And sometimes the best friend does the leaving, sometimes you do the leaving. Either way, one of the things I do when I think about the relationships I've left behind is I've given myself time to grieve. I've given myself a chance to feel the feelings that I have around that loss. And then I practice sort of a practice of forgiveness of both myself and whatever feelings I have, and the other person. And then ultimately I return to a place of being able to bless them. So what you might do is every time you feel pain in your heart about the breakup with your best friend, bless her and bless yourself. And know that I'm assuming, it sounds like you did the breaking up, and I'm assuming there was a important reason why. And so now you just really want to honor your decision and recognize that just because we say goodbye doesn't mean we need to, when we've said goodbye and we know it's the goodbye that we need to say, then the best thing we can do is bless people when we think of them, instead of going back, instead of revisiting, instead of considering, starting the relationship up again only to have it end here again. Just really bless them and be gentle with yourself. You can't get over it. We integrate loss into our lives over time. So it's by grieving loss, it's by feeling our feelings that we allow ourselves to integrate the experience over time. And then she or he will become a beautiful part of the tapestry of your life, a beautiful part of the tapestry of memories that you have. And I promise you, there will come a time where you can look back at this person and feel tremendous, just tremendous gratitude for what you had together. Okay. Let's see. Sue wants to know how to stay grounded when life gives you a hiccup. One of the best things I know to stay grounded is to develop a practice of presence, of being quiet. Meditating 10 minutes. I always say it's set an alarm on your phone and just sit quietly for 10 minutes at a time. Basically, when we close our eyes, the brain, we encourage the brain to begin making alpha waves instead of beta waves, which our brains make when we're talking and teaching and functioning in the world and busy, stressed out or whatever. The brain is making lots of beta waves. And so the moment you close your eyes, your brain starts to make alpha waves. And you want to be able to let your body calm down. So anytime, if you're going through a hiccup, depending on how difficult the hiccup is, sometimes you'll need to practice that state of presence 3 or 4 times a day. Other times, one time in the morning, one time at night might be sufficient. But that's a great practice in and of itself, to decide I'm going to get grounded by sitting down, closing my eyes, setting an alarm, and being bigger than the voice that wants to get you to get up before the 10 minutes is over. Just really telling yourself, no, I'm in charge here. I'm the queen of the kingdom. I'm the queen of the queendom. I'm the king of the kingdom. And we stay here until the alarm goes off so that we can get rerouted into our center and re-grounded into our life. It works like a charm, Sue. Just give it a try. The only reason it doesn't work is because people don't do it enough. All right. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Rishma. Let's see. Moira says, can you talk about the concept of change yourself, change the world? Yeah, Moira, let me give you an example of that. Back when I used to coach, when I had a coaching practice, and I would teach people how to take good care of themselves. I would support them in taking good care of themselves. They would decide, as a coach, coaching was always a client-driven process. So the client would decide what they wanted to work on. Some people wanted to work on self-management, to have more time to themselves. Some people wanted to improve their financial health. Hi, Poopy. Come up here. Want to come say hi? Hold on, Moira. Come here. Come on. Want to come here? Nope. Sorry. Almost got him up here, people. Poopy. Yeah, come here. No, come say hi to everybody. Come here. Okay, Moira, sorry. So people wanted to work on different ways of improving their quality of life. And what I found was, as people started to do things like take better care of their body or take better care of their home or their office or improve their business for themselves and their employees, or as they started to just care more deeply for themselves, they started to do things like in very practical ways. Like I remember one CEO I was coaching who never recycled anything. He was incredibly busy and was always running here or there. And every now and then he would mention an argument he and his wife would have about recycling, because she always wanted to recycle everything. She's like me. I like to try and recycle as much as I can. And I remember one day he said to me during a coaching call, you know what? I caught myself recycling today. And I said, really? What happened? And he said, I just realized that as I've started to take better care of myself, and as I've started to slow down and have more time for myself and care about what I put into my body, he said, I went to take some kind of a glass jar and throw it into the rubbish, and I thought, this is going to wind up in some landfill somewhere, and it doesn't have to. And it's going to affect the land of some future generation, and I should just really put it in the recycling bucket. And I always remember that, Moira, because I found that when people care more about their own ecology, their own environment, their own cosmos, their own mini planet, their own universe, right? My own universe right here. When people cared more about their own universe, they naturally began to start caring about other people as well. You know, just the practice of presence alone, if you do that consistently, you'll have the experience of being part of the oneness of the planet. Or go out tonight and look at the moon. You know, that's almost full. Go out and look at the moon and just stand, if you can, especially if you can get some place where there's not a lot of noise and a lot of light. Just stand looking at the moon, or look at the stars, or look at, you know, get some big sky, wide vista view. And just look out and give yourself a sense of what it means to be part of this vast bigness of the universe. The more you do that, the more you feel connected to the greater oneness of it all, the more important it becomes to take good care of your larger ecology, your larger cosmos, your larger planet, your larger universe. Your universe expands, right? It moves from being just me, or just me and my home, or me and my family, to me and my community, to me and my, you know, just yesterday I was on, we have a Facebook community here for my local town. And there's a community group like there is for a lot of towns. And somebody posted on the Facebook on the wall that they were wondering if anybody had any milkweed in their yard, because they wondered if they could borrow a few milkweed pods, because they wanted to plant more milkweed in their garden to attract monarch butterflies. And monarch butterflies are, you know, there's been a real problem with them heading towards extinction, and milkweed is the only plant that they lay their eggs on. And I have it in my field, and every fall I go out and I open the pods and I sprinkle more seeds and grow more milkweed. But you know, I posted and said, yes, I would be happy to share some of my milkweed pods. And I thought, that's how it starts, right? It starts in our own backyard saying, hey, I can contribute to the growth of the monarch butterfly population, which matters. Just like I can contribute to the bee population, the bat population. I don't exterminate anything. And then from there, we can extend it out to the point where I'm happy to share milkweed with somebody in my community who I don't know, but who also cares. So these are the kinds of ways that individual self-care expands out into a larger and larger universe. And these are the things that we need to be thinking about now. We live in a very, these are trying times, as all of us know. And so we need to do our best to make our own individual worlds a better place, and then expand out from there. So those are my change yourself. You know, here's the other thing. When I work with people who improve their financial health and increase their wealth, they can't help but want to give to other people. It feels so good to give to other people. I mean, you know, look at what the United States is doing for Houston, as we pray for Houston and send our love to everyone who's struggling there. The American Red Cross is getting a ton of donations from people who just naturally want to give and support. So the more we have, the more we want to give. And that's how Change Yourself grows into changing the world. Thanks for the question. Let's see. Glad to hear that, Monica. So Dieta says, I know you lost your dad. I just lost mine 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to move in my sadness and grief. Yeah, don't even try to move, sweetheart. Just let yourself be with your sadness and your grief. It will move when it's ready to move. Grief is like the ocean, right? There are waves, and in the beginning it feels like the waves are just going to take us over and under. And they're waves of, they can be waves of deep pain and sadness and feeling so incredibly out of control because you can't bring your loved one back. And over time, those waves, they feel less overwhelming and they get smaller and more manageable. And then what ends up happening is that they end up leaving in their wake beautiful memories. You know, the pain, they sort of take the pain, the waves take the pain out to sea with them and leave behind the memories that are really special. But, you know, I lost my dad in November, and I mean, not a day goes by where something doesn't trigger me to feel sad, and something also doesn't trigger me to feel, to smile or to laugh or to think about him in a fond way. So, and that's probably a red cardinal out there because that's one of the ways he speaks to me, in case you heard that. So just be gentle with yourself, Deida. You just lost him 2 weeks ago. It's going to take time, and just allow yourself to be where you are. I know that sounds so simple, but it's so important. It's so important. Okay. Charles, thank you. I love you from Mexico City. I just couldn't remember how to say I love you in Spanish. I've been studying Spanish, and can you believe I can't remember how to say that? Te amo? Te amo? I think so. I don't know if that's it or not. Let me know. All right, let's see. What do we have here? Considering some of the social turmoil and divisiveness, Jackie asks, going on in our country today, is it possible that our thoughts contributed to creating Hurricane Harvey? You know, Jackie, here's my simple answer to that. Poupon, do you have a thought about this? Come here. Here's my thought about that. I don't find any usefulness in thinking about how our thoughts might contribute to anything negative. Whether or not they do isn't something, I mean, first of all, it's just not something, it's not a conversation. Te amo, yes. It's not a conversation that, that I want to entertain in my head. But what I do want to say is this. I do know that everything we communicate, that we are energetic beings and that our energy communicates with the universe all the time. And even if it were true that negative thoughts create negative experiences, the real emphasis then, and it may very well be true, I don't know, I'm still here on the planet, there's a lot we don't know, but our energy needs to be put behind the positive thoughts and the goodness that they can do. Now, I've had experiences, and I've had experiences with my online community, with my newsletter community, the folks that are on my email list. And for those of you who aren't, if you just look up at the blue button that says sign up, you want to sign up there, because I've communicated with my list in the past. I've been writing a blog, a weekly blog now for about 17 years. And I've communicated with people when I felt like there was a need for group mind to support something. And there have been studies, actually. Lynne McTaggart has done it. You can look up Lynne's work. I will put her in the resource section. There's been plenty of studies done that show that our group mind has an influence on the world. And I've had that experience with my online community where I've asked people to pray for a certain outcome, or to hold a certain part of the world, or to see, express gratitude for rain in a part of the world that really needed it, and watched it happen. I remember we did it as a group when Boulder, Colorado was having fires. And there were a whole bunch of us that just imagined drenching, healing rain coming down in Boulder. And the forecast had been for rain for no rain for like over the next week. And in less than 24 hours, it started raining. And you know what? I chose to believe that that was our group holding that vision, because I know that our energy influences what happens in the world. So I think that in terms of the social turmoil and the divisiveness, we all need to do our part. We need to reach out, speak up in ways that are respectful and loving, not that create more divisiveness. And then we do need to hold a stronger vision for healing in this country. I actually believe that we're headed for some important healing. And I think it's going to happen sooner than we realize. And in the meantime, we need to just express gratitude for the healing that has happened and trust that it will be there. So, Jackie, put your energy towards that which you want to see happen, that which you want to create. And certainly in our own individual lives, we need to be practice loving kindness, acceptance, not judging people, the great feminine principle that we need so much more of in the world right now, looks for agreement and alignment, has a strong backbone, don't forget that, speaks up and takes a stand without a doubt, but doesn't contribute to divisiveness. And so you put your energy to good use. That's what I want to say, Jackie. Okay. Let's see. Judy says, how do you know? I love my husband and have a dysfunctional family, but have the urge to pack up and run on my own. How do you really know what your way is? Well, Judy, here's a simple answer to that. Whenever we want to pack up and run away from anything, it simply means that we've waited too long to take good care of ourselves. So anytime we're looking for a black or white solution, so I'm here and I want to be way over there, it usually means that we've been under stress or duress for a long time and we needed to do something and we didn't. And therefore, we're now at a breaking point. And the breaking point is usually, that's it. I'm going to pack my bags and leave. Michael, my husband, knows. Hold on one second, everybody, while I just fix one thing here that's driving me crazy. Okay. My husband, Michael, knows. There we go. That's a little better. He knows that when I say things like, you know what, I just want to find a cabin in the woods where there's no streets, no roads, nothing. I just want to find a cabin in the woods and I just want to go live there. He'll always say to me, sit down, tell me what's going on. What's stressing you out? What are you afraid of? What's going on for you? Because anytime you want to run and hide, it means you've waited too long to tell somebody if things aren't okay. And so, Judy, the real question is, because here's the thing, Judy, if you did pack up and run, you'd be here 6 months from now on my Facebook Live saying the exact same thing to me. I promise you. So the idea is to stop and say, okay, what's going on for me right now? And I would take a journal, a pad of paper, and I would just write down, what are the things I'm worried about? What are the things I'm angry about? What am I frustrated with? What am I feeling resentful for? Just get it all out. Dump it all out. Okay, who do I need to talk to about this? And who can I go to first who is safe, who won't judge me or offer me unsolicited advice or tell me I shouldn't feel that way? Like, who can I just get to mirror back for me the truth of what I'm experiencing and then help me make a plan of action to start addressing what's going on? That's how we know what our way is. Our way is to connect with our own inner truth. And, starting next week, I'm going to start my next book. Finally, I have a new book coming out. It's been a few years. Will be out in December. And I write a lot about, it's a memoir in journal form called Waking Up in Winter. And I write a lot about the importance of developing a strong connection to our inner life. And it's in doing that, in getting connected to what you think, how you feel, what's going on in your body, and cultivating an ongoing relationship, Judy, that you catch things before they get to the point where you want to run and get away from everything. This is called being a grown-up. It's called growing ourselves back up by making the decisions that I'm going to notice when something isn't working for me and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to speak up. I'm going to say something to somebody. I'm going to ask for help. And as I do that, I don't reach the breaking point. And I can tell you it works. So start with journaling, getting out everything you need to get out, number one, and then number two, find a safe person to talk to about it and ask them to help you make a plan. Okay. Let's see. Perry says, what would be the best affirmation to get the job I'm hoping for? Well, the one I always use is the perfect job finds me. But you know what I'm going to do, Perry? I'm going to just look at the back of the book I did with Louise. We have a bunch of affirmations. You can create an exceptional life. We have a bunch of affirmations for work. Let me see. You can do things like you can affirm the perfect job finds me. I have a wonderful relationship with my boss. All my coworkers are a delight to be with. I accept a job that uses all my creative talents and abilities. I find a job that is deeply fulfilling, and it is a joy for me to go to each day. I work for people who appreciate me. The building where I work is light, bright, and airy. Everyone is filled with a feeling of enthusiasm. My new job is in the perfect location, and I earn good money for which I am deeply grateful. There's a bunch of affirmations. Just notice right around, it's like right around 2:40 Eastern time. So if you come back and you look for this, when I go like this, just go ahead and rewind a little bit, and you can write down all of those affirmations that I just mentioned. That's what I would recommend, Perry. I think that those will be really, really helpful. Let's see, a couple more questions. Let me take some water. Let's see. Oops. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, I'm just trying to move stuff out of the, Sue says, you should channel a book with Louise now, a new book, Lessons from Louise. You know what, I'm going to let Louise rest for a while, and I'll leave the channeling up to other people. I'm not good at that. All right, let me see. What other questions we have here? Remember to put a Q. There we go. Let's see. Cecile says, how can I stand by my boyfriend who has a health problem after having a long-distance relationship for 10 years to different countries? I want him to move here, but he says he can't. Well, that's a tricky situation, Cecile, because I'm assuming you can't move from where you are. So I guess the best thing you can do, here's a simple answer, is to ask him, how best can I support you since I'm not able to move there? How best can I support you right now? And notice what he says. Ask him to let you know. If he says he can't move to where you are, then you're probably just going to need to make some peace with that. And bugging him to do so, if he feels pretty settled in his decision, is not going to bring either one of you peace. Maybe the relationship at some point will need to change form. And I don't know, just wind up being a different kind of connection. I don't know, but to me, anytime we're wondering about how to support somebody as they're going through a situation, the first very best question we can ask is, ask the person, how can I best support you right now? What would make you feel loved and cared for? And, what can I do that would really help you the most right now? And you can keep asking that question every week or every month to get more information, to get updated information about how to provide support. Okay. James says, more and more opportunities are coming up to share parts of my personal story, whether it's in speaking or writing. I find that afterward I feel very emotional and exhausted. Is this common? Any recommendations? Yeah, James. Sometimes if we're invited to share our personal stories as a part of work or as a way to support others, so whether it's giving a sermon at church or writing a blog or standing up at a 12-step meeting or whatever it might be, when we're invited to to share with people some of what's gone on with us in our lives, and we're not quite ready to do that, sometimes what can happen is we end up feeling, emotional and exhausted. I know, for example, when I'm teaching, if I go to teach about something and I can feel that the emotion is way too strong, I know that it's not time for me to be speaking about it or writing about it, that I actually need to process it. And honestly, I guess I have to say, I feel like we live in a world where people do a lot of self-disclosure a little too early. You know, better that we hold our experiences that, you know, past experiences or present experiences that require healing, better that we hold them close to us and do the healing work first, so that you'll know you're ready when you can do so without a lot of angst, a lot of emotional pain, or a lot of exhaustion. I mean, exhaustion is, to me, anytime I feel exhausted, I have to really look at what I'm doing and ask myself whether or not I'm doing, whether or not what I'm doing is actually in my best interest. So it might be that it's a little too soon for you. It's why journaling is so powerful. A lot of my books were written in journals years before they ever made the page that got sold in a book. So it might be that you just need to be journaling about your experience and your stories as a way of processing it, along with, depending on what your situation is, getting support, sometimes getting support from a good therapist or a coach. And then you'll know when they lose their emotional weight and charge, and when it gives you energy to share it instead of take energy away, then you'll know it's probably a better time to do that. So let me see. I hope that's helpful, James, darling. All right. Tommy says, I can tell you're only talking to people who don't live on a low-income budget. Actually, I'm glad you said that, because I would like to say that if you have a question related to something financial, let's say, and you feel stuck financially because you're on a low-income budget, I would love for you to ask that question instead of making the assumption, because I grew up with very modest circumstances. In the early part of my career, I spent a lot of time really frightened about how I was going to pay my bills. I mean, you know, even after moving from a job to starting my own business, I had to go back to getting a job because I couldn't pay my bills and I couldn't afford health insurance. And I actually became quite resourceful in getting my needs met for very little, if not no money at all. I did a lot of bartering early on with people. For example, 35 years ago, I got my first massage from a girlfriend who was in massage school and needed people to work on. And every single week I got massages for free because she really needed to practice. And that really introduced me to this whole healing modality called massage. So, and I took advantage of, you know, early on in my career when I couldn't afford health insurance and I actually needed a medical procedure. I took advantage of the resources that were available in my state for people who couldn't afford health insurance, because I knew that I had contributed to that fund when I was working. So there's a lot of different ways that I was able to not only find resources for myself, but for plenty of people that I've worked with over the years who didn't have the means to do some of the things that we talk about. So if you have a question, Tommy, about that, please do ask. Don't just assume that I'm only addressing people who aren't on a low income budget, because you'd really be doing yourself a disservice. You wouldn't get, you wouldn't get your needs met. Okay, let's see. Let's just do one more question before, yeah, because it's almost time, and I'm gonna cut out a little bit early because of the holiday. Yeah, lots of people saying beautiful things about Louise. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing another question. Seeing lots of comments. Oh, here we go. Scott says, I've been married 30 years. The kids are gone. I'm not sure I want to stay in my marriage. I don't want to hurt my spouse, but we are drifting apart. The love is gone. Any advice? Yes, Scott. I would, so 30 years is a long time to be married. And I guess what I would say to you is, in an effort to honor your marriage, in an effort to honor this family that you've created and this time you've spent with your partner, I would really encourage you to be brave enough to get some good marriage counseling and let that determine whether or not you stay together. I often will recommend to couples who are in the position that you're in to get some good marriage counseling. And as a matter of fact, there's a wonderful gentleman, I often recommend him, Ed Shea. He's in Chicago, but he works by phone with couples. He's been a marriage and family therapist for, almost 40 years now. And I love him dearly. He's somebody very important to me. Michael and I did counseling with him before we got married, and we've been married over 20 years. And what I would say to you, Scott, is I would do some research first, see if you could find someone to talk to. And then I would go to your spouse, and I would let him or her know that you love them very much, and that you are so grateful and respectful of the 30 years you've spent together, and that you're really questioning your marriage at this point, and you'd like to get some professional support to explore what's really going on. And whether that means we get counseling to help us figure out how to stay together, or we get counseling to figure out how to have us separate in a respectful and loving way, I'd like to do it in a way that really honors us. And is it going to be a hard conversation? Yes. If your spouse has no idea this is coming, it's going to be really hard. But I think having some resources in place first. And then here's the thing I would say to you, Scott. I haven't been married as long as you have been, but I will tell you that we all go through periods in our intimate relationships where we question whether or not we should be in them. And I have found in working with clients over the years and in my own marriage that sometimes there's a whole new life and energy that can be breathed into a marriage when two people are willing to get honest, to be tender and vulnerable, and to express their needs rather than just make assumptions that the spouse can't meet the needs. I've had people I've worked with before that I've sent to marriage counseling where the wife thought that she wanted to leave the marriage and discovers that the husband was feeling the exact same way, and they just never spoke about it. And suddenly, by somebody giving them permission to start having honest conversations, this whole new level of intimacy and vulnerability is exposed, and they become actually attractive to each other again. And that happens more than you might imagine. So there's a couple of resources I'll give you Ed Shea's phone number in this post when we're done as a resource. And then Terry Real, there's a few, Terry Real, Allison Armstrong, and I think Esther Perel. I love all of their work. And also, there's another gentleman, Stosny, Steve Stosny, I think it is. I can't remember his first name. I'm going to put some resources down there for you, Scott, in the post when we're done. Just give me a few minutes because it takes Facebook a while to upload the video, and then I'll go back in and edit this and put some resources in. Please check out those resources. 30 years is a long time, and you do have kids, and it may be that you decide to move on, but wouldn't it be awesome to move on in a respectful and loving way and to eventually be able to have some kind of a relationship with your spouse? I hope that he or she knows what's going on. If not, you're drifting because the truth isn't being told in your marriage. And when truth isn't told in any relationship, it's inevitable that it will drift apart. Truth can be quite an aphrodisiac too, I want you to know. It can reinvigorate marriages that look like they're on death's door. So I hope that's helpful to you, Scott. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Karen, again, we're going to hold you in our prayers as you take this next brave step in loving your yeah, I just thank all of you for being here with me. I hope that you've got some wisdom from this that will also, although it was for somebody else, I hope that it also serves you as well. And as I always say, if you're not subscribed to my weekly newsletter, please do at CherylRichardson.com. And for those of you in the area that might want to come to my next retreat, it's in October, Healthcare by the Sea. It's about falling in love with your body. And you can find more information at CherylRichardson.com. I'll put it up on the post as well. Okay? All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being with me. Next week, by the way, I start introducing you to my next book. I'm probably going to do a little excerpt in the newsletter, and I'm going to, on Monday, I'm not sure when I'm going to do it. It may be on Monday. I'm going to do a reading on my next Facebook Live, a reading from the book. It's called Waking Up in Winter. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.